From a man who was kicked out of a Bigfoot hunting group for insisting he spotted Chewbacca, but who redeemed himself by getting a crystal clear picture of the Loch Ness Lobster, this is the Daniel Natal Show. The Pew Research Center came out with a study that said that U.S. children are more likely than children elsewhere to live in single-parent homes. What we're watching is the decline of the traditional nuclear family structure. There are, of course, different sociological drivers for this. In antiquity, up through the 1700s, family structures were much larger, with a homestead being like a mini corporation, with parents, children, aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents all living together and working at various jobs to be self-sufficient. In this older setup, the father of the family, the paterfamilias, was like a CEO. Mother would make clothes, the sons would tend the farm, the uncle would make horseshoes, grandpa would do carpentry, and so forth. With the Industrial Revolution, this family structure broke down. With the rise of factories, sons were lured away from the family farm to factories in the cities. As a result of their absence, the farms collapsed, and the cities grew. Industrialization erased the old centralized rural system, and family size shrank. It went from dozens of relatives to the nuclear family that we know today, with parents and 2.3 children. We got along with that for the last few centuries, until it started to break down further. This time, it was due to the unlikely alliance between corporations and socialistic political structures. The self-professed mother of the Swedish welfare state was Alva Myrdal. Back in the 1930s, she promoted a more robust state to take over many of the functions previously reserved for the family. As William Gardner, author of The War Against the Family, points out, Sweden is the first nation to have a majority of its voters dependent on public funds. Sweden has the lowest marriage rate in the Western world and the highest couple dissolution rate. Fully 50% of all live births are non-marital births. Sweden has the smallest average household size and the highest percentage of single-person households. Since Gardner wrote his book, the out-of-wedlock birth rate in Sweden has gone up from 50% to 55%. To put this in context, Japan is just 2%. Sweden is now second only to Iceland for total national illegitimacy, with Iceland leading at 62%. Though champions of the Nordic countries crow about them being routinely listed as among the happiest in the world, there's a cultural habit that they don't want to draw attention to. The Scandinavian custom of not complaining, of undergoing problems in stoic silence. As a result, when asked if they're sad or depressed, the typical Scandinavian says no. But this may be deceptive, given the data brought forth by the article The World's Happiest Countries Take the Most Antidepressants by Will Hagel. Leading the list of antidepressant takers are Iceland, Denmark, Portugal, Sweden, and Finland. Of course, as any statistician knows, self-reported surveys are among the least scientific, so it's interesting that as Scandinavian populations are self-reporting that they're happy, their rates of depression and antidepressant usage belie that characterization. As materialists race to explain Scandinavia's depression and alcoholism rates with recourse to long winters and fewer hours of sunshine, a less biological and more psychological factor can't be overlooked, that as Scandinavians have become more isolated and their traditional institutions more fragmented, a correlation has emerged between changing social paradigms and loneliness. In our country, depression rates also seem to correspond with the dissolution of the nuclear family structure. Watch filmmaker Aaron Russo talk here about a conversation that he had with the Rockefellers on the plan to absorb women into the workplace.
Well, one of the things they told me was that we was at the house one night, and we were talking, and he started laughing. He said, "Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about?" And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Why am I an idiot?" He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, "And you want to know why?" He says, "There were two primary reasons. And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up their family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them." And so those are the two primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble venture.
In economics, the more you have of something, the less valuable it is. If there are few workers, then employers have to bid for the price of labor and wages get higher. If, however, you have a ton of workers, pay rates decline. By doubling the U.S. workforce, the oligarchs could chop wages in half. This is why a single breadwinner can no longer afford to support a family, as they could in your grandparents' generation. So women were not added to the labor force out of some altruistic impulse, but because the corporate sector wanted to 1. Double the workforce to depress wages, and 2. Tax twice the number of people. We have always had a division of labor in society, even in caveman times, with hunter-gatherer civilization. Men hunted, and women gathered roots and berries. The radius of a woman's activity was smaller so that she could also look after the children. Women's lib still constituted a division of labor, but now the woman's center wasn't the family unit, but the corporation. Aristotle said that the basic unit of the polis was the family. In the modern nation-state, that's changed over to the corporation. The family ceased to be the center of the society, and rather, the corporation took over that role. The oligarchs are marketing to women the desire to not have a husband. A husband would just lead to a family, and then the state would have a rival. Under our new corporate fascist system, young people are encouraged to be secular priests and nuns, told that children only add to the carbon footprint, and to make the corporation the center of their lives, not families. And if this somehow leaves you empty inside, pop a Xanax. Remember, the system won't be tailored to work for you. Rather, through the use of drugs and narcotics, you'll be tailored to fit into that system. Enjoy the chemical lobotomy. It goes hand in hand with the chemical castration. If you like this video, you'll love the New American Magazine. You can buy a subscription or donate to help more videos like this get made. Think of it as your own electronic swear jar. Every time you slip and lose your temper, you put a quarter in the metaphysical jar. After so many salty outbursts over the course of a month, well, there's your subscription. And for the price of a cup of coffee, you can help little Danielito get a well for his village.